What's the scariest thing you've ever done? Thinking about it for myself, I realize I don't often encounter that much danger. And so the first examples of scary things that jump to my mind are mostly social situations. Confronting a friend or talking to a girl or interviewing for a job. I don't think I've ever had to run for my life and make a split decision with little information when I'm terrified. I have had to make a number of choices about what to do with my life that affect my life. Do I go to architecture or do I go into engineering? Should I work for this company or for that company? Should I remain an engineer or go to seminary? These were all significant choices, ones that impacted my life, but ones that I also had plenty of time to make. And faith quite often looks like that, where we can slow down to pray and talk with God about where He is leading. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we're called to act quickly in faith. Hebrews 11:29 describes living by faith in a life or death situation, where you can't take the time to gather information and get advice before making your choice. This is how the verse reads. By faith, the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. Following on from our examination of the life of Moses, Exodus records the Red Sea episode in chapter 14. And it's a pretty dramatic event. God had brought the nation of Israel out of Egypt and led them through the wilderness to the edge of the Red Sea. And at this point, the Egyptians changed their mind about letting the people go and pursued them with the better part of their army. This would have been a terrifying sight for the Israelites, one that caused them even to question God's goodness. They saw the army behind them and the Red Sea in front of them. They felt trapped. Yet Moses encouraged them to trust God, to have faith that God would rescue them again. Moses said to them in Exodus 14, verses 13 to 14, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Now, I chuckle a bit at Moses' words here because the very next verse, God commands the people to move. Moses says, "Be still." God says, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." God goes on to describe how He will act to save the people. But the command is to move forward in faith. Keep moving. But you can understand the struggle, can't you? If God opens up a path, even a miraculous one, through the Red Sea, won't the Egyptians just keep chasing? The flight of the Israelites through the Red Sea may have seemed maybe hopeless or just prolonging the inevitable. But on the other hand, parting the Red Sea is a pretty extraordinary thing, and so perhaps God does have a plan. The author of Hebrews draws our attention to the difference in faith between the Israelites and the Egyptians. Israel had faith in God's salvation. Egypt wanted their property back. Israel hoped that God would save. Egypt tried to save or reclaim what they had once controlled. The Red Sea was an opportunity for Israel to practice stepping out in faith, and it was scary. And the consequences were very real, but God did save them. He did rescue them. And as we've been contemplating our faith this Advent season, what's the scary thing that God is calling you to do? For me, one thing has been the act of repentance, admitting that I am wrong and asking forgiveness and changing. It's uncomfortable, but God is present and He is a wonderful counselor. Jesus' forgiveness is real and God's fatherly love is true. So join me in praying and asking for a stronger faith so that we can face the scary or hard call to obedience with a firm confidence in God's love, provision, and care.